If the United States economy would collapse, this would happen quickly. No one would predict it. The surprise factor is one of the causes of the collapse itself. Symptoms of imminent failure are difficult for most people to see. Finally, the United States economy almost collapsed on September 16, 2008. Reserve Primary Fund broke the money day the value of the fund's stocks dropped below $1 per share. Panicked investors withdrew from billions of money market accounts where businesses hold cash to finance daily transactions. If the withdrawals continued even for a week, and if the Fed and the United States government had not taken steps to support the financial sector, the whole economy might have stopped. Trucks would stop rolling, markets will run out of food, and businesses would be forced to close. That's how close the United States economy came to a real collapse, and how vulnerable it is to another one. Will the United States economy collapse? The size of the United States economy makes it flexible. Even the scariest events are unlikely to cause a collapse. When necessary, the government can act quickly to avoid a complete collapse. For example, the Federal Reserve may use the contractionary monetary instruments to tame hyperinflation or work with the Treasury to provide liquidity, as in the 2008 financial crisis. Federal Deposit Insurance Company insures banks, so there is little probability of a banking collapse similar to the 1930s. The president may publish strategic petroleum reserves to offset an oil embargo. National security can address a cyber threat. The United States Army can respond to a terrorist attack, transportation stall, or rebellion and civil unrest. In other words, the federal government has many tools and resources to prevent economic collapse. What happens if the United States economy crashes? If the United States economy collapses, you will most likely lose access to credit. Banks will be closed. Demand will prevent food, gas, and other needs. If the collapse affects local governments and public services, water and electricity may no longer be available. The economic collapse of the United States of America will create global panic. Demand for the dollar and the United States treasuries will drop. Interest rates go up. Investors will run to other currencies like yuan, euro, and even gold. Since the dollar depreciates other currencies, it will cause inflation. If you want to understand what life is like during a collapse, consider the Great Depression. The stock market fell on Thursday, down 25% on Tuesday. Many investors lost their life savers that weekend. In 1932, 1 in 4 people were unemployed. Wages of those still in business fell rapidly. Manufacturing fees fell 32% from 1929 to 1932. The United States gross domestic product has almost halved. Thousands of farmers and other unemployed workers moved to California and elsewhere to seek jobs. 2.5 million people left the Midwestern Dust Bowl states, though industrial average did not return to its pre-collusion level until 1954. Collapse versus crisis. The economic crisis is not the same as economic collapse. The 2008 financial crisis, which was as painful as it was not a collapse. Millions of people lost their jobs and homes, but basic services were still provided. Other financial crises in the past seemed like a collapse at the time, but now almost never remembered. 1970s stagflation, OPEC oil embargo, and President Richard Nixon's lifting the gold standard triggered double-digit inflation. the government froze wages and labor rates to reduce inflation to this economic downturn. The result was a high unemployment rate. Businesses that prevent low prices could not afford to keep workers at unprofitable wage rates. 1981 recession. The Fed raised interest rates to end double-digit inflation. This created the worst recession since the Great Depression. President Ronald Reagan reduced taxes and increased government spending to put an end to it. 1989 savings and credit crisis. Thousands of banks closed after inappropriate real estate investments become sore. Charles Keaton and other savings and credit bankers misused funds for bank deposits. The recession after this triggered an unemployment rate of 7.5%, and the government had to save some banks worth $124 billion. Recession after 9/11. Terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001 varied across the country and extended the stagnation in 2001 and more than 10% unemployment. The United States response anti-terrorism cost the country $6.4 trillion and is on the rise. 2008 financial crisis. The early warning signs of the 2008 financial crisis were the rapid decline in housing prices and the decrease in mortgage default in 2006. The United States government had no choice but to save banks and insurance companies such as Bear Stearns and AIG, and to face both national and global financial disasters. 2020 coronavirus crisis. It is too early to calculate the total cost of the 2020 coronavirus pandemic. The crisis is still ongoing. We have already witnessed worldwide supply chain outages, increased volatility in the financial markets, and high losses and sharp slowdowns in the travel and hospitality industries. Given the rapid spread and persistence of the outbreak, we should expect more disruption and more economic costs. How much? According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the global economic blow can reduce global growth rates to 0.5% and cost the global economy $2 trillion for 2020. How to prepare for an economic collapse? It is difficult to protect yourself from a collapse. A destructive malfunction may occur without warning. In most crises, people survive by helping information, ideas, and each other. 6 steps you can take to prepare for a potential collapse. Number 1. Be sure to understand the basic economic concepts to see the warning signs of indecision. One of the first signs is the stock market collapse. If it is bad enough, market collapse can cause stagnation. Number 2. Have as many assets you can so you can shoot within a week. Number 3. As for cash, it may not be useful in total economic collapse because its value may decrease. Stocks of gold bars may not be helpful because it will be difficult to move if you need to move quickly. They may not be considered currency in a serious collapse. However, just in case, it will be nice to keep $20 bill and gold coins. In many crisis situations, these are often considered bribes. Number 4. In addition to your regular job, make sure you have the skills you will need in a traditional economy, such as farming, cooking, or repair. Number 5. When you need to report the country quickly, make sure your passport is up to date. Now, research the target countries and go on vacation so you will be familiar with your destination. Number 6. Keep yourself in the best physical form. Know basic survival skills such as self-defense, foraging, hunting, and fire burning. Practice with camping trips now. If possible, protect wildlife in a mild climate. This way, if a collapse occurs, you can live on land in a relatively non-crowded area.
Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.